Don't stop now. You got 30 seconds. Good control from bottom. That's the way you keep them off balance. Let's get out there, attack the legs, take them down, and get on top. All right? Following directions perfectly. Great job. All right, that was good. Definitely making some progress. Really impressed with your performance today. Great job. Perfect work. I like that. Nice position. Good control from bottom. That's the way you keep them off balance.
Thank you, chicken tikka masala. I forgot about that.
Today, I want to see you sharp
I'm
and
not
quick.
honest until my controllers out. It's on completely wrong.
Really impressed with your performance today. Great job. Listen, you fight like that, you're gonna dominate. Guaranteed. Okay, this is how we train to win the belt. Oh yeah, that's how champions train. Let's work here. Nice! Your wrestling base is getting stronger. Now let's keep drilling, keep working, and it will be a huge part of your arsenal. Today, we're really gonna tighten it up. Here we go. Oh, wow. Wow, yes. That punch damaged him. Yes. Let's go. Nice strike. That'll keep him honest. We dominated today. Good work.
The winner needs a lot more.
Hey, good job. Your next opponent is not going to be able to keep up with you. You're following directions perfectly. Great job. Oh, wow. Yeah. That's what I'm talking about. That punch damaged him, right? Power. I love it. Let's go. Hey, no excuses today. It was a bad day, but don't worry about it. Yes, devastating punch. Great job.
I was playing good until you come. I'm not saying that be cheating. I'm just saying, as you're coming up first. Stop. Shit.
Right, nice and fluid.
You ready to fight? You ready? Let's do it.
Impulse control is not good. It isn't obvious not to be done, it's just focus if you're in now when I start playing, but not walked out for something. Because it's fucking irritating. It's anything. Just do it to be honest. Slight spin, is popping and third ball. And then 154. Got one first time if you want to be fighting that soon.
Scramble and go! Scramble and go!
You ready to fight? You ready? Do it.
Finish with the high kick!
Why don't you drink or whatever you're doing? No, why? You don't radio it wasn't what you were doing. He's holding on it. And look. What is it? Don't ignore it. What is going on with them? And I'm fighting so shit because on the career, so it's hard. You can't fight how you do against people. Against this, you just get covered. And I'm only play better, but it's hard to play anyway. You can play good against this. But still want to play better. I'll let Jake be massive and try and save him. It's going better. Boom! Sit down.
Ready to fight? Ready.
Hey, phone. Excuse me. Now, have you seen Tractor Shows and fucking. No. Probably cold. It's fucking open. Some jobbers. Punches. Lana. It's not getting me. It's coming out.
Let's work.
I got more. Yeah, I got more. We're gonna see this. Oh, look at this. Big fucking helmet again, like last one. Be impressed. Expect the best to get shit. No one, I didn't do anything. Apparently, Muhammad was just 5 mile, but it can't be. That one's 5 mile. The only way the woods itself was 5 mile. Or even 3 mile. It might mean three. It might mean three. What the fuck's that noise? That car? It's been going on for half an hour. I actually realised before you said it. As soon as I said it. Look how many games I lost earlier because I was having shit day. So, I won like 36, lost. No, I won 18 and only lost 2, right? And then I had a shit day. So then I lost like 6 or 8. So my score was at 18-8. And then I ended up winning 18 in a row. Didn't lose. So I ended up being 36-12. And then I've lost like, look, around 5. So my first fight is the first one red. The 2 ones there. I'd already had, so from here is what I had. So 5 wins, 3 losses. Those 3 losses, 3 wins were Harris one. Control.
Do you like the flag shorts that you'll be wearing at the White House, Sean and Ali? It's funny you bring that up because I don't know if I'm even supposed to say it, but since you brought it up, I feel like they're ugly. Mine were ugly. I don't like them. I don't like them. They're not pink, which is fine. Whatever. I've worn other colors. I'm not. It's not. It's not. I'm not gonna not show up. My shorts are pink. I'll make my fucking hair pink. Whatever. Not bad. But I'm just like, did they go on Fiverr and say, hey, we got these guys getting in a fight at the White House lawn. Can you just come up with them? Like, I'm like, bro, when I was wearing them, they're white, which is whatever. I love white, Dana White.
Oh, I didn't realize that one back. That thought one back.
Crazy though, right? What do you think? How you doing, brother? Good? Cool. Until he ain't got no job. So let's talk about something else. What do you think about fondue? I fuck with it. It's nasty kind of. I don't fuck with it not at all. So let's talk about. Well, Robert Bell's okay. He can't get foot up. Let's go. Let's go. Yeah, let me see your picture. Well, Robert Bell's okay.
I wasn't a puma today, thankfully. I'm very happy to hear that. Are you really not watching? I mean, listen. Red.
The guy's the top 30 minutes. Like, perform, like, you won't. You won't. Oh, scary ass nigga. Say, bitch, you ass. Yeah. Nigga, you check. Roxy, you did not. That's a little bit. You chatting. You know why? You chatting. Oh, got no chatting, bro. That's not real. That is real. Put on FcU1Career. I love all of them. You love them. Yes. Yes. What? That's nothing. Nothing? That's nothing to me, bro. Yeah, bro. What's up? What's up? What's up? Hey, did you hear what I said? What? No, I picked it. I'm the only one who picked you. Tell him, guys. You made me eat my words. I didn't think he was going to fight at your pace. I thought he was going to just keep shooting, keep shooting. So, talk about what you said right before I walked out. Today we're here with it.
Following girls go around it. Little creepy photo.
Yeah.
Some people are just shitsy looking at that. Who was it who said it? It was a single guy who said when you're walking on the trail or something, if one person sees you at all, then you have to go on and do it in your day. Do you know what I mean? Like, so apparently if one person sees you, like, do you know what I mean? That could be witness or you costume and everything, and no one sees you at all. But then so I reckon we still got away with it. Hadn't it?
I got away with it, but came back to bite me.
Well, only because he did the second one. If you hadn't done the second one, if you hadn't got caught for the second one, he wouldn't have got caught ever for the first one, do you reckon? Because we had his DNA, but we didn't know whose it was. But they would probably find him now, do you know what I mean? Isn't it mad, man? Look. They would have actually found him now when you would have been on the internet. Like, do you know that cousin? No one was texting, the niece or something. No one but Daniel Weekly or something. Fancy Weekly. Are you going to go in? That's weird.
Nothing beats the chicken.
What happened? What happened?
Ketchup and cooker in the pan lid.
This is done the whole time to see if it up. Oh, me. Oh, instead of not what I was saying.
About Daniel, somebody other.
It was until yeah. This. Daniel Weekly.
Yeah.
It would have been someone in Eric's family. She might have been the only one. Or, like, basically, they had his DNA, but they didn't know whose it was. So, unless someone had done the DNA thing, and unless they had actually done it, they wouldn't have ever found him. But she might have done it, and then they would have found him. And then he might have been, like, on YouTube now, just getting caught if he hadn't ever done the second one. Do you know what I mean? Because he wouldn't have ever got caught for the first one, unless they got his DNA somehow. Creepy photo. Seen him. Will it at least have some discretion? Well, it'll just be someone, a corner on the street. So it'll be like, it's it'll be like us recording a video and then we'll see him acting creepy, so we'll point the camera towards him, put our internet. Could this just be a random person in the street? It wouldn't look creepy, can it? It's probably off the stairs.
Yeah.
But you know, he might not, like, even though he's creepy, like, he's obviously a creepy cunt, he might have just been trying to pull him at first. But if he keeps following him, he's obviously weird. Like, he might just be, like, really sure. And that is weird, but it's not creepy, is it? Because everyone says that. But he's gonna continue following him, or he didn't. But then he doesn't look like that. He looks like someone. I want not to creep up on him. I saw he does look like one, but he might not have had that intention. But I think he would have. By the looks of him. But if he does, it's a bit stupid. Not very discreet. Oh, you need to say how long those woods are. Can you? Can you? Is he falling there basically? See how long the woods are, I was going to say. Jack Rock.
No, you've got like 2 or 3 phones there, the blue phones there now.
Shut up. And I haven't even been to River Woods either. Like the stepping stones, I don't know where those are. See not hello, hello. That's what I've been saying to this when my phone hasn't heard us. Oh, damn. One button songs. I always thought it was PH. I don't understand because the stepping stone says isn't on there. On the internet. It says it's sharp, but I couldn't see my mind. But we gone through the whole woods, we couldn't have gone anywhere else, do you know what I mean? Remember? The woods isn't even that long, is it? Like us went out bed on the straight away. $4.2253 it's gone for. We didn't walk 4 miles through those woods. Must have missed something. He said 2 miles. No. Who's what feet? I thought it said fibula. I don't think I'll ever get my payment and run. I can run 100 miles. I can't even walk. It's 6 hour engine. Oh, Humford Woods and Plessy Woods, so there's two different ones. See? See? And see them in never there's Humford Woods, Bedlington, Crampton, and Blythe, but we come up with Bedlington, so we couldn't go on past Crampton. So Plessy Woods, there you go. Now, what? So is there somewhere else we need to go? See how many woods I just run by? When Jerry took me back place, you big fucking woods, woods all over, like everywhere, every little bit in Crampton, you know, park, Crampton. And I walked that little lead wood probably, like, what was it, woodland? Like, oh, trees and shit, it's just fucking wild everywhere. Isn't it mad how much wild it actually is, if you actually think about it? Like, just Blythe is huge if you think about it, how much shit there is. And you've got that everywhere in the world. Like, millions and millions. What is that? Yeah, we're not going there. Ain't gone. See, that looks way better. Fuck that. 4 fucking miles. 3 miles. Doug, you do. What did he say? Which I'm not going that, but you wouldn't sit on. Right on the doorstep, exactly. Look what's on the doorstep. Like, you don't think it's as good, right, until you go to somewhere that looks shit. You don't think that? Like, you know, Bly Beach? You know, when you go to Bly Beach, you think, oh, it's not good. Until you go to another beach and you think, fucking hell, Bly Beach is good, you know what I mean? Because some places look shit. So you don't understand how many places around look good. Like, every woods, everywhere, everyone looks good, you know, I think. And some places it just looks absolutely dead. Like, some places in America just look absolute shit. Because I'm thinking, oh, in America would be way better. Like, it actually is mental how if you think about it, just for saying stuff. I've always like thought America's like, oh, it's the best and stuff, but it's when I've actually had a look now. Like, if you just have a look on Google and just have a look at all the stuff, like, over here is just as good or better, I think. And you're going to get lost in the national forest. Because if I go to America, I will be going through the forest, but I wouldn't want to. It would probably be a national forest, so I end up getting lost. That's why I won't be going far. But I would want to. I'd want to hit the whole forest, mate. Like, they take like a car and do it. You know, if you took a second of it, would be perfect, wouldn't it? But you lose your phone signal. That's how everyone thinks. I mean, ready for what now? If you cut on the potato, just watch Jack Frost. What? Jack Frost. Because I'm now. It just goes. The story goes on. I didn't think I'd actually want to be honest. What? Oh, actually interesting, isn't it? Because it tells you over different ways, like things like just wouldn't even think of. Well, you're going to be into it now. I'm actually hope you don't get bored from because when you're into something, it's good. But you're not into now that I've got like this radio and you know, like, oh, it's good. Like that. So that's why I didn't put it on last night. So I only put it on to go to bed. But because you like it, I haven't been putting it on now. I've just been putting other stuff on this FBI files. So do you want to read one at the top, or do I just want to pick one? Well, did we watch this? Fuck Pat Mirrors. Oh, I watched that one. Remember? This was watched two last night. Remember first one to get caught off DNA in England on Pitchfork.
Just pick one. I'm going to get with them.
So really, go on.
Look
Look a second. Look a second. No, you're not. No, I meant me. Like stand at the door. Then have a look at me. We just gonna go away. There.
I didn't know what you wanted to do.
You don't want to stand at the door. We're just gonna go. So the first one got caught of the atoms or something in the water. Remember, that's like the same kind of water, which you wouldn't even think of. And then he got caught leaving DNA. That's it, isn't it? Yeah. We've only ever lost two. Like just simply leaving DNA for it. So that's not like a story, is it? It's just for DNA. That's why we're saying it because it's the first one ever. You know what I mean? So it'll be a medical thing because back then DNA didn't exist probably. And under me. What? No, have it. Crisp things, you mean crackers?
And then only 30 seconds. That's why I eat them for. I think when I'm starving, it's actually quite nice. But I forgot the salad to dip in it.
Yeah. You've been back for an hour and a half. What would be interesting watching Alistair? He was a CIA agent, right? He tells you about like hidden secrets of the CIA, and that's kind of interesting. Oh, I'll just go each one. See what's that? You seem to say being bound and raped.
Early one morning, in a deserted area outside of Phoenix, a motorcyclist discovered the body of a young woman.
It's nice.
She had been beaten, bound, strangled, and possibly raped. The surrounding plants would tell more about her killer than any other single piece of evidence.
See, plants, what the fuck?
When investigators from the sheriff's department arrived at the crime scene, they gathered every possible piece of evidence. The victim was nude, except for a pulled-up tank top and a T-shirt wrapped around her neck, which was probably used to strangle her. Her wrists and ankles were loosely bound with shoelaces and what looked like picture-hanging wire. Nearby, investigators found a syringe, some articles of clothing. Then they heard some evidence. It was a pager found deep in the grass a few feet from the body. the pager triggered a larger search, and the photographer took some aerial photographs. There appeared to be a circular area of matted grass where an altercation possibly took place. Police took the victim's remains to the medical examiner for identification and autopsy. A fingerprint search identified the victim as 30-year-old Denise Johnson, a single mother of 2 young children. She was born and raised in an area of Phoenix known as the Project.
She wasn't a bad girl.
Oh, of course.
Some of her friends, I
She
think she got
fucking
with the
around.
wrong friends. I ain't
Be a
gonna
little
tell
fucking
you
woman, prostitute, probably. Crackhead.
She hung around with people that liked to party, drink, and I don't really know what they were doing. But she was out there in the world with people that did drugs, I'm sure, and sometimes I think she trusted too much.
Misfitted, didn't you?
Living on the streets of Phoenix.
Oh,
People
I
that
missed what you said there.
drugs, I'm sure, and sometimes I think she trusted too much.
Denise made a living on the streets of Phoenix. She had a history of shortchanging truck drivers in various drug deals at local truck stops, which earned her the nickname Twist Mama.
Missed out.
Her friends cautioned
A
her
bit.
that her lifestyle
Passage.
was probably going to find her in a lot of trouble someday. And eventually it did.
Hey.
But who ended Denise Johnson's life? The investigation began with the pager found lying near the body. It belonged to this man, a local trucker named Mark Bogan. He said that on his way home from work the night before, he stopped to make a phone call. That's when he met Denise Johnson for the first time.
Hi, how you doing?
Hello there.
Bogan said she asked for a ride to the interstate. Once inside the truck, she made some sexual advances. They pulled off the road and had consensual sex in the cab of his truck.
Mum, and then he accidentally strangled her and stabbed her 36 times. He slipped and it fell in her.
Afterwards, as he was dropping her off, he said she attempted to steal some of his things off the dashboard.
Oh, so did I. Oh, always.
After a brief scuffle, he retrieved his wallet. She got out and left on foot. Bogan said that was the last he saw of her. The next morning, he noticed his pager was missing, assumed he had lost it, and called the pager company to report it missing. During the interrogation of Mark Bogan, investigators noticed scratch marks on the side of his face.
If there were scratches on the suspect's face, then you expected that those were, in fact, inflicted by fingers or fingernails of the victim. There should be some residue of the skin cells and maybe even blood under the fingers.
The autopsy of Denise Johnson revealed no skin or blood under any of her fingernails. The medical examiner found that Denise Johnson's death was caused by asphyxiation due to strangulation. Blood tests showed cocaine in her system. However, there were no signs of any type of sexual activity. There was no semen found, no foreign hair, clothing fibers, or saliva found anywhere on her body. The autopsy told investigators how Denise Johnson died, but provided no clues about her killer. Their one suspect, Mark Bogan, was apparently a dead end. The sheriff's office had not only a murder, but a mystery. On the day after police discovered Denise Johnson's body, homicide detective Charlie Norton was assigned to the case.
I decided that it would help me as the investigator to go out and familiarize myself with the scene where the body was found.
Denise Johnson's body was discovered in a remote part of Maricopa County, about a half an hour away from downtown Phoenix. Charlie Norton was looking for anything out of place or unusual, anything that might have been overlooked the day before. Then he saw it, something bean pods from the Palo Verde tree. Was it possible that Bogan's truck brushed against the Palo Verde tree at the crime scene, causing two bean pods to drop into the back of the truck? The problem was, Palo Verde trees are very common in Arizona. There are tens of thousands of them in the Phoenix area alone. But Charlie Norton's boss had an idea to see if DNA testing could match the bean pods from Bogan's truck to the tree with the abrasion at the
Trees
crime
of
scene.
DNA, you know.
I suggested to Charlie at the time, I said, it'd be a real good idea.
No,
We
man.
find someone, somewhere in the United States that is involved in DNA testing the family. Guys, what the hell?
So he's completely cleaned out the fingerprints and everything out the truck, but messed out two little bits, which has got to go. Those two bits had to be in it. But then again, they might not even be in it. America's corrupt as fuck. We might just plant them there. You know how many people have just been planted and given wrong things? But it still could have happened. So it's still a possibility.
Where are we going to go from here?
But it would have happened.
And when you mentioned DNA on the bean pods, of course, I thought
Like, it would have happened.
No.
Well, be a real story, obviously, but I meant, like, they might not have actually done it. They might just be talking shit. But it's all ways it could happen. I don't know.
Where are we going to go from here?
And when you mentioned DNA on the bean pods, of course, I thought it was silly.
No, it's very serious.
I used to go Justin Cunt.
Particular situation was we didn't have a damn thing to do. We had nowhere else that we could go. It was a last
You thought he said Justin Cunt.
of physical evidence that we
That
could
'cause you read it?
use to connect Mr. Bogan to this crime scene.
Norton started working the phones, calling scientists all over the United States.
I've got answers like it couldn't be done to maybe it could be done, and that if it could be done, that the cost would be prohibitive.
15 telephone calls later, he found someone who offered some hope, ironically, just 100 miles away, at the University of Arizona in Tucson.
I saw that as sort of a public service thing that we could do, that we show some of the science is relevant to people in maybe a way that's not quite as obvious through agriculture.
Could DNA really show that one plant or tree was different from another, even though they were the same species? DNA is present in all cells of all living things. It's a little like a computer program containing all of the information necessary to create a living thing. All humans have different DNA profiles except for identical twins. In the early 1980s, Dr. Alec Jeffreys, a British scientist, discovered a test that made it possible to identify an individual's DNA profile. Jeffreys' breakthrough technique was first used in a criminal case in 1986. But plant DNA
That's what we swapped
in
them.
a criminal case, and scientists weren't even sure they could figure out a way to extract DNA from the Palo Verde seed pods.
Well, we certainly use fingerprinting a lot in agriculture, but we've never looked at this particular species, this tree. Nobody has probably ever done much biology on it at all.
Prosecutors had circumstantial evidence linking Mark Bogan to Denise Johnson's murder, but they needed something more definitive. They knew they would have to prove that Bogan was at the crime scene, and the Palo Verde pods were their best chance. The scientists had no idea that their research would be the cornerstone of a murder case. The Arizona Sheriff's Department wanted to know if there was any way scientists could match the two seed pods found in the back of Mark Bogan's truck to the Palo Verde tree next to where they discovered Denise Johnson's body. But there were thousands of Palo Verde trees in the Phoenix area alone, and there had never been a DNA test on this type of tree.
We had to learn how to do the analysis so that we could say the trees look different from each other in this species. Because what we wanted to know was not was this a Palo Verde tree, but can I match it to that specific tree?
The work on the Palo Verde pods proved to be long and tedious. It took months for Dr. Helen Jarvis to even devise a test he thought would work. And even then, he was frustrated.
In fact, a couple of times I'd sort of given up and said, well, this is too hard. I got other things to do. And then they would call me back each time and say, no, this is really important. We're not going to go
A chemical solution is added, and the DNA floats free, a sticky bundle of complex molecules. The sample amount of DNA from a seed pod is too small for analysis, so scientists increase the sample size by copying the DNA strand. They use a technique called polymerase chain reaction, or PCR. The copying process takes place in a DNA thermal cycler. Within a few hours, this technique multiplies the DNA millions of times. The DNA is then placed into various lanes of a gel with a dye added, and then subjected to an electrical field. Under ultraviolet light, it's possible to see how the electrical current draws the negatively charged fragments through the gel to the positive end at the top. The results resemble a barcode, the genetic fingerprint of a Palo Verde tree. These fingerprints enabled Helen Jarvis to make an important discovery. The two pods found in Mark Bogan's truck matched each other. And they also matched the pods taken from the tree at the crime scene, the tree next to where Denise Johnson's body was discovered. Every other Palo Verde tree tested had a completely different DNA profile. It was the result that investigators and the district attorney had hoped for.
It wasn't the criminal itself, but it was a particular tree that we hadn't identified, and in fact we hadn't matched that up.
He was able to take the original samples, a part of the samples from the pickup truck, determined that those two pods came from the very same tree. And he compared those with samples from all 12 trees and matched it to a tree there at the crime scene, not knowing that the tree had a scrape on it to which he matched it.
But there were only 12 trees in the initial test, and the prosecution felt that wasn't a large enough sample. They needed to show a potential judge and jury that all of the Palo Verde trees in Arizona had a different DNA profile. So the district attorney sent Helen Jarvis pods from 100 different trees, asking him to prove that each had a separate and distinct DNA profile. And he tried to trick Helen Jarvis.
I did not tell Dr. Helen Jarvis that I had gone back out to the scene, had a deputy take a sample from the same tree, which had the scrape on it.
Dr. Helen Jarvis proved that each of the pods had a different DNA profile. And he also discovered the prosecution's trick.
I called him and I was a little concerned because, well, we could tell all these trees apart and so forth, but we put the sample back in and it looked like it matched one of these supposedly random trees that they'd gone out and done.
So it's like a touchdown in the end zone. I knew it. I knew he had hit on it. 20 other samples that he had tested on one gel, he hit and matched perfectly.
Police arrested Mark Bogan and charged him for the murder of Denise Johnson. He entered a plea of not guilty. But the question remained, would this new DNA evidence be admissible in court? No one had ever introduced plant DNA as evidence in a criminal trial anywhere.
We held a preliminary hearing before the judge only to review the scientific evidence to see whether or not it was evidence that was generally accepted in the scientific community as both valid and reliable.
For 3 days, without a jury on hand, lawyers and scientists argued whether plant DNA should be admitted into a criminal trial for the first time ever.
What all of the scientists agreed about was that plant DNA, like human DNA, was unique to each plant, and if properly tested, could distinguish one Palo Verde tree from another Palo Verde tree, and there seemed to be no dispute about that.
Judge Bolton denied the defense motion to prohibit Dr. Helen Jarvis's testimony, thereby allowing the DNA evidence to be admitted at the trial. In setting a precedent, Judge Bolton had made DNA history.
We were the first criminal case in the country that used a DNA comparison of plant material to as a piece of evidence.
Now, armed with the potent weapon of a DNA fingerprint, the prosecution May 2nd, 1992. The prosecution believed that Mark Bogan met Denise Johnson at a phone booth.
Hi, how you doing?
They spoke briefly, and Denise asked for a ride.
These episodes are mint. It's sort of a bit boring, but it's been able to tell you everything.
Rode to a deserted location for what was going to be
Didn't we announce
a
it again?
consensual sexual encounter.
Consensual sexual encounter. That's what happened now, of course it did.
How would you like to have some real?
Bogan asked Denise if she would agree to some light bondage and tied her wrists and ankles with some picture frame wire
Easy,
and
that.
shoelaces.
How many
Some
people
of
would actually do
Bogan's
that?
ex-girlfriends would
Which is
testify
like China.
that he enjoyed bondage, and another witness told investigators that she saw the same type of wire in the cab of his truck just a few days earlier. At some point, Denise Johnson objected to what was happening and asked Bogan to stop. Johnson got out of the truck and tried to run, with Bogan fast behind. Quickly, the situation turned violent. The two struggled in the open field. Bogan lost the pager he carried on his waist, which fell into the high grass. Bogan strangled Johnson with her own T-shirt. Then he dragged her body under some nearby bushes and left. As Bogan drove away, his truck brushed against a Palo Verde tree, leaving the abrasion. Two seed pods dropped into the back of the truck. An eyewitness saw a white truck similar to the one Bogan owned coming out of the road leading from the crime scene, going through a stop sign and speeding off in the direction of Phoenix. The witness said it was about 1:30 in the morning. Bogan lived 15 minutes from the area, and his wife told police she awoke as Mark returned home just after 2 in the morning. Most of the evidence against Mark Bogan was circumstantial. The lost beeper, the picture frame wire, his interest in bondage, and the witness who saw a white truck in the vicinity of the crime scene the night of the murder. But the most critical evidence in the case was the plant DNA.
There wasn't a fingerprint, there wasn't a drop of blood, there wasn't a hair, there were none of those things that anybody could say were part of the victim's body found, must have been left by the victim on the defendant or on the defendant's property, or vice versa.
He had admitted to the detective that he watched the truck the next morning. He gathered all the evidence in the truck except for the Belvedere truck. He overlooked that. He did not know the significance of the Belvedere truck.
They needed evidence that placed Mark at the scene. Because he did have a credible story.
As a prosecutor, I had a mantle of evidence that I wanted placed on the shoulders of the defendant. The Calvary truck took the mantle by the drawstring and wrapped it around his neck.
Unable to challenge Dr. Helen Jarrett's findings themselves, the defense challenged the evidence, implying the pods were planted in the back of Mark's truck. But investigators said the seed pods were found in Bogan's truck before samples were taken from the crime scene.
If I was going to plant evidence, I would plant something that I know that I could match later on and probably be a little bit more.
That is true. Do you think we want to plant smells that have been made before DNA?
Mark Bogan guilty of murder in the first degree. He was sentenced to life in prison without parole for at least 25 years. The appellate court upheld the verdict. Mark Bogan continues to maintain his innocence, and the appeal process is continuing.
I think the whole case is pretty significant, and I'm glad I was part of it. I'm trying to forget this case because I'm the only person on the planet that lost a flag.
It was something that hadn't been done before, something that was certainly very different from the routine things that we do every day as judges.
I guess more people in the public sector can probably relate to it easier than the research I normally do.
I love my dog very much. I love all my children. But something we just have to go through. It's done. I don't know what in the world that could have tripped him off to hurt her like this. I don't know. But I hope one day we'll find out.
Yeah, Ed Freeman. David.
Shortly after Thanksgiving in 1987,
Hey.
an intruder broke into the Tucker residence in Arlington, Virginia. It might have been just another statistic, but the crime committed that night launched a new era in police investigations. This is how DNA evidence and psychological profiling helped catch a serial killer and set an innocent man free.
Everything about her was very gentle. She was very soft-spoken. Just had this amazing softness about her. This human quality.
44-year-old Susan Tucker was a publications editor who worked for the United States Forestry Service. She was spending the Thanksgiving holiday alone since her husband Reggie was out of the country in Wales on a business trip.
Neither of us could put the phone down. We kept saying, I love you. And we said this over and over again. I don't know how many times.
But without explanation, telephone calls went unanswered. And neighbors noticed her bedroom window wide open in the cold November weather, so they called police. As they approached the front door, they noticed it was ajar. Inside, a woman's purse was lying on the foyer floor.
Irene called on Monday. Couldn't get an answer. Just rang. I rang again. I rang again. I don't know how many times I rang.
Susan Tucker's badly decomposed body was lying face down on the bed. She had been dead for 4 or 5 days.
Her hands were tied behind her back. Her feet were tied. The head hanging over the side of the bed almost.
She had been strangled and possibly raped.
It appeared that the killer more than likely was inside the home for quite some time. I mean, it wasn't just a very, quick in and out type of situation. Many of the drawers had been, ransacked, had been gone through.
When Reggie Tucker first heard the news, he was devastated.
He said, sir, I've got bad news. And I knew it. I just knew it at that point. And I just, my whole world just fell away.
Detective Joe Forgas of the Arlington Police Homicide Unit was quickly assigned to the case. His task wouldn't be easy. For one thing, the killer had been careful. He had worn gloves and left no fingerprints. It had been raining on the night of the murder, and he meticulously cleaned the area around his point of entry.
He's smart enough to know that footprints, which is what we would have gotten from that, would maybe come back to haunt him, which kind of tells you maybe some past experience on burglary.
Police collected the sheets, nightgown, and the large sleeping bag which covered Susan Tucker's body to look for possible blood and semen stains. They found hairs on the bedding around Susan Tucker's body, in the bathroom sink, and on a washcloth discovered outside on the clothesline. And they gathered shards of broken glass from the basement window. Everything was taken to the forensics lab for analysis, but perhaps the most important clue was also the most obvious: the rope and knots used to strangle Susan Tucker. The police were convinced they had seen this killer
Horgus got there that night, another detective, another homicide detective was already on the scene. And when he met him, he said something to the effect that this looks a lot like the Carolyn Hahn case.
3 years earlier, a 34-year-old lawyer named Carolyn Hahn had been raped and strangled in her home only 4 blocks away from Susan Tucker. The killer entered the Hahn residence the same way, through a basement window, and tied his victim using the same knots.
Carolyn Hahn's hands were tied behind her back with the Venetian blind cord, a verb with the Venetian blind. I thought that was kind of uncanny, if you will.
And it's not a common occurrence, not common at all, to see victims killed by using ligatures to strangle them, ropes tying up victims. That's really quite rare.
But the Hahn case was closed when this man, David Vasquez, confessed to her murder and was sentenced to 35 years in prison. Could he have had an accomplice? Horgus spoke to him for several hours.
And from the way he was talking and everything and answering my questions, I didn't think he knew a damn thing about Carolyn Hahn's murder. He always still looked at, hey, we have the right guy in jail.
While Detective Horgus began his search for Susan Tucker's killer 100 miles away in the capital city of Richmond, police there were investigating a series of murders shockingly similar.
The body of 35-year-old Debbie Davis was found inside her South Richmond apartment. She'd been raped and strangled.
In less than a month, 2 young women had been raped and strangled in their homes just a few blocks from each other.
In each case, there was a forced entry with the murderer entering by cutting the screen and entering through an open window. Each victim was strangled. Both victims were white, between the ages of 30 and 35 years.
2 weeks later, he struck again. This time, a 15-year-old girl raped and strangled in her bedroom while her family was sleeping. All 3 had been bound, raped, and strangled with rope. The knots were identical to the ones used in the Arlington cases. Detective Horgus suspected that the killer of Susan Tucker was the same man who murdered Carolyn Hahn and the 3 women in Richmond. If Horgus was correct, a serial murderer was loose on a 100-mile killing spree. Detective Horgus believed the man who raped and strangled Susan Tucker had also murdered Carolyn Hahn 3 years earlier. Horgus also believed the same man was responsible for the 3 rapes and murders in Richmond, 100 miles away. The Richmond police weren't so sure.
I mean, they had 3 murders that were within a couple miles square radius, I'm guessing, or maybe even less, that, you know, and now we're trying to say that 100 miles away, we're trying to link something to theirs. Like, yeah, get out of here. I mean, they're starting a local guy.
Horgus was a man, he was the perfect man for this case because he was obsessed. He knew something was wrong.
Author Paul Moniz wrote a best-selling book entitled Stalking Justice. It profiles the rapes and murders of these 5 women and the history-making investigation which followed.
Joe Horgus is motivated by the hunt. He's not a guy who's obsessed by issues of right and wrong, except for his own internal moral compass, which tells him if there's an innocent man in prison, I don't care if we got the guilty guy, we've got to get the innocent man out. And he was determined to get this guy.
But if Horgus was right, that all of these murders were connected, he needed proof. For that, he turned to the forensics lab, where scientists were examining the stains found on Susan Tucker's nightgown and bedding.
I found 4 semen stains, and when I analyzed the sleeping bag, I found 1 very large semen stain. I typed all of those stains.
The semen came from an individual with type O blood and a PGM1 enzyme profile. Although this matched 13% of the population, it also matched the semen found at the Carolyn Hahn murder scene. Next, they turned their attention to the hair found at the Tucker crime scene.
And there are characteristics, microscopically, that can classify hair into one of 3 racial categories.
Which are Caucasian, Negroid, hairs found at the Tucker crime scene appeared to be pubic and did not appear to be from the victim or her husband. They were positively identified as Negroid in origin. This was another possible link to the Carolyn Hom murder case. 3 years earlier, at the time of Hom's murder, a black male wearing a mask had raped a number of women in the same neighborhood. The masked rapist was never apprehended, and Forgus always suspected that there was a connection to the Hom murder.
Actually, the same day that Carolyn Hom's body was found, another girl, lady, was in her house, and this black male with a mask and a knife burglarized her house, shot her, and actually he did some sexual activity with her.
If Forgus was correct, and all of these murders were related, he was faced with a complicated task.
Well, I had no knowledge of who I was up against. I mean, in my mind, I'm looking at the crime scene, and first thing you're trying to evaluate is a motive.
The Richmond police and later the Arlington police both sought help from the FBI's Behavioral Science Unit in Quantico, Virginia. This unit has interviewed hundreds of serial killers to learn what similarities exist in their psychological makeup. They were able to predict a number of important things about the killer.
We get in and look at the behavior that's left behind the offender in the commission of this crime. We believe that by looking at that behavior, we can interpret the type of offender that may have committed the crime.
The fact that the strangler attacked his victims in their homes suggested that he stalked them first and knew precisely when to strike. The FBI concluded that the perpetrator was between the age of 18 and 30, the quiet type, a loner who held a menial job. He probably had a troubled relationship with his mother and began his crime spree with arson. Historically, serial rapists and murderers. Concluded that the perpetrator was between the age of 18 and 30, the quiet type, a loner who held a menial job. He probably had a troubled relationship with his mother and began his crime spree with arson. Historically, many serial rapists and murderers begin with arson. Serial killers are usually white, but could be any race. He lived or worked close to where he committed his first crimes. That's because criminals begin their crime sprees in an area where they feel most comfortable. He took sadistic pleasure in strangling his victims. He would periodically release the bindings so he could hear his victim plead for her life.
It appeared that the perpetrator had intended the victims to suffer considerably. In one case, a shoe impression was found on the victim's back.
These women were obviously first just terrified to the very bone, and then were systematically sexually assaulted, and at the end, and it's not clear whether they were dead when he did this or alive, but he also masturbated on his victim.
And it was these semen samples which would prove to be extremely important pieces of evidence.
I can remember a prosecutor, Helen Fahey, a couple of days after the murder, asking me if this was going to be a DNA case. And I'm kind of, I don't know. We don't even know what we have got yet.
In 1987, when Susan Tucker was murdered, DNA evidence was still in its infancy. The first time DNA evidence was used in a criminal case was only a year earlier in England, when DNA from a semen sample was used to convict a bakery worker with the rape and murder of two 15-year-old girls. Forgus decided to try this testing, sending the semen stains from Susan Tucker's nightgown to the Life Codes Laboratory in New York. Forensic scientists were concerned that the samples may have degraded or been contaminated.
For example, in taking a vaginal swab from the victim, you have the victim's DNA as well as the potential perpetrator in one sample that you can test. That's contamination. You have to be able to sort those two DNAs out to make any kind of comparisons.
Yeah,
And
that's
if
probably
you
going to be
then
something
compare
like that.
these pictures and the components are the same, the two DNAs, that would indicate that they're from the same source.
The final results from the DNA test would take up to 10 weeks, but Detective Horgus still didn't have a suspect. Detective Horgus suspected that the same individual who raped and murdered Susan Tucker and Carolyn Hahn 3 years earlier was the masked rapist who was committing crimes in the same area but was never caught. So Horgus drove out to an area of Arlington known as Green Valley, the area where the masked rapist committed his first assault. The FBI told Horgus that rapists usually commit their first crime close to home.
If the first rape was the first rape for this guy, then he would have lived around there. And that was very crucial to me because I didn't know that.
And as he drove through Green Valley, Horgus tried to recall the names or faces of likely suspects, young men he'd run across over the years who came from that area.
And it just so happens that Detective Horgus started to focus on this one juvenile he had dealt with or remembered him. He just couldn't place the name. And all I could remember was Timmy. I could see his face. I remembered the approximate time period and everything that I remembered him from, but I couldn't remember his last name. So we running all these names in the computer, seeing when they've been locked up and released. And suddenly he just came in and said, Spencer, Timothy Spencer, that's the name. And I saw where he was arrested on January the 29th, 1984, which was 4 days after Carolyn Palm, her body was found.
Spencer's history unfolded. In trouble as a teenager, he had a string of burglary convictions, and even more surprising, just as the FBI predicted, Spencer had first drawn police attention for arson, for setting fire to his mother's car.
He was presently in a halfway house in Richmond. Well, that's exciting now.
Spencer was on probation, living in this halfway house just a short distance from where the Richmond murders took place. And according to house records, Spencer had been signed out during the Thanksgiving holiday, visiting his mother in Arlington, the week Susan Tucker was murdered.
The fact that he got out of prison 2 weeks before the first murders down in Richmond, the fact that he was available for every murder, the fact that he came to Arlington when he did for our murder.
And the FBI was correct about another important detail. Spencer lived in the area where the first rape was committed.
And that happened over there. And at the time, Timothy Spencer was living down here over this hill.
In his mother's house, barely a mile from the homes of Carolyn Hahn and Susan Tucker. On January 20th, 1988, police arrested Timothy Spencer. Within hours, they had collected a blood sample, some of his hair, and confiscated his clothing for forensic analysis.
The clothing was scraped down for removing any debris, and once that debris was collected, it was taken to a microscope. Several dozen particles of glass were removed from the debris that was removed from his clothing.
The glass fragments were of particular interest to the police.
I've got an idea, right?
After police recovered.
It's a bit cold here. Unless you're not. Do you know you've seen the police would sting the bloke? Do you think it would sting if it was on the stairs? Trapped in the thing. Do you think you'd actually smell through it, don't you? It would be inside the club, but check that. Oh, I don't know how to basic. but I'm just saying now, just saying this one arrested from what happened. It's not gonna be long, so as we was I'm going now.
Glass particles from Spencer's clothing, they were examined forensically. Interest to the
Several dozen particles of glass were removed from the debris that was removed from his clothing.
The glass fragments were of particular interest to the police.
Yeah, sure.
After police recovered glass particles from Spencer's clothing, they were examined forensically to see if they matched glass from any of the victims' homes. One technique is called glass refraction analysis. By shining light from different points on the spectrum through the particles, the characteristics of the glass can be plotted on a graph, in effect measuring how the particles bend light.
You stick the pin into the water, which is more dense than the air, it bends the light. What we're doing with the glass particles basically is measuring how much the light is bent. And we call it refractive index.
They compared the glass fragments found on Spencer's clothing to the glass particles taken from the broken window at Susan Tucker's home.
We were able to say that that glass that was removed from Spencer's clothing either came from that particular pane or that particular source of glass or another source of glass that had the same optical characteristics.
When scientists completed the DNA analysis,
Since ignorant times.
found that the Susan Tucker
The crop,
home
Susie.
they made a chilling discovery.
The crop,
And I
no.
remember pointing out
You
the
did?
X-ray film from the developer and holding it up from these two separate cases.
Well, there you know,
seeing, bombarded immediately that the patterns I'm seeing are the same. I'm seeing the same profile on this case from one county versus this case from the second county.
Was it
It
Sona?
says to me that the same person's involved in both of those incidents. So they give you chills up and down your spine to see something like that.
Argus was right all along. The semen sample from the individual who raped and presumably murdered Susan Tucker matched the semen stains from the murders in Richmond.
There were 7 hairs that were consistent with his. There was a glass fragment that was consistent with his. Family couldn't provide him with a complete alibi for the entire weekend.
Don't take good ones.
And finally, Timothy Spencer's blood DNA was compared to the semen samples from the crime victims.
Once we got a sample from Mr. Spencer to test, we generated a profile that was the same as the profile we got from the evidentiary samples. We had a frequency of occurrence of greater than 1 in a million. So that means that only one person in a million in the population would have that particular genetic profile.
And starting with the first result, the blood type, it was a match, it was a match, it was a match, it was a match.
On July 11, 1988, Timothy Spencer went on trial for his life. It was the first time in the United States where DNA evidence would be used in a serial murder case. It took the jury less than 7 hours to find Timothy Spencer guilty of rape and capital murder. He was sentenced to death.
Gave some kind of relief. But I never had my wife back. That's really the bottom line is I never really feel happy. I can't feel happy about somebody being guilty of raping and murdering my wife. I can't feel happy about that. So whenever anger I will feel. Till I die.
Death was pronounced by the attending physician at 11:13 p.m. There were no complications. Mr. Spencer did not make a last statement. Thank you.
Up until his death, I don't think that Timothy Spencer made the connection between semen and blood. I don't think he knew that the same DNA that's in your semen is in your blood.
Without DNA, it would have been impossible to convict Timothy Spencer. If he had committed those murders a year or 2 years earlier, he could not have been convicted. In fact, if this had been 1984 or 1985, we probably would not even have arrested him.
Some people ask the question, will DNA fingerprinting replace detective work? I don't think so. Susan Tucker left detective name would never have come up if it wasn't for Detective Porter.
That's wrong.
So put that on the floor. Just try and move that a little bit because in the way all that and put it down and put it down.
Just put it on the floor where it is, but I'm just sick of all the mess. Sometimes stuff got to be on themselves as usual. That is never going back. Oh no, the spider will be killed, but you didn't want to look.
This spider.
Mm-hmm. You said there's one big one.
Yeah, well, there's a big gap, so there could be more in there.
That's good enough.
What's after?
Like everything, I don't know what's in the middle, so I was trying out of your bags. I don't know what stuff I've got. That's so true stuff.
Taking the bottle upstairs. Holly it over my dad. Oops, I didn't have to piss on.
So what?
Didn't have to piss on.
Yeah, I wish I would just listen to every video fucking say. Eve, one day, please.